Introspect, take a sec, watch it step, where you step, when you step, falling free through the sky, feel the breeze, feel the eye, all your fears, let them die, energy never lies, introspect, take a second, let your world unfold.
You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let Them Speak podcast, another episode 32. To be exact, I'm your host, Cecil Williams, reporting to you front and center. As you can see or you can hear, Osan and Abraham are not with me. It's okay. They'll be back very, 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 very soon, but I'm holding down the front. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, thank you so much. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we salute you. We appreciate you. We love you. But we have somebody very, very special holding down the front with me, and we're gonna just chop it up, because we're just people. We love, and we love what we do.
Yeah.
And I have my good buddy here that I actually recently got to know over Instagram, and I'll just say this: how I got to know her was through my pastor's. She made a GIF or a GIF. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but a GIF of my pastor. And I'm like, yo, that is very, 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 very creative. And I loved it. And I'm like, I hit her up like, yo, I need that. Like, can you send that to me? And so I saved it. It was actually that was we got him that gift for his birthday.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So right. So at our church we have this thing called TLO. I'm part of a TLO.
Oh,
and
nice.
it stands for the Levitical Order at NY San Bernardino in California out here.
Yeah.
And his birthday, of course, is in August. And so he loves shoes, and his favorite color is red.
Yes, he does.
And yeah. So for us, we just like, okay, let's come together, get some shoes. So we got him some shoes. Nice. And we told him to record his response because we wasn't gonna be around. So we did, and then you sent that gift.
Like,
and I'm like, yo,
that's
clutch. That's clutch. Appreciate it.
It's so funny. It made me laugh. I've never made a GIF from a video before, and I was like, no, this one needs to be like memorialized in the GIF land.
Yeah, no, it was hot. I loved it. So hopefully I get your name right. It's Josie.
It's Josie. You said it right.
I got it right.
Josie, and I'm like, there's no Z in my name, but okay,
really?
I'll let it slide. Yeah, some people say Josie. My last name is La Corte. I'm Italian. It means the courtroom. My first name, Josie, means God will add. So you put my name together, God will add the court or the courtroom. So I carry justice in my blood.
Hey, that's wow. That's amazing. Fortunately for me, my name is Cecil. It's just Cecil. But no, it's actually my middle name means worthy. Which only a few people know my middle name, but my first name I've actually like really had bad history with my name, looking it up, because every time I think this is my first time saying this.
I'm rooting for you to say it because I don't want to say it because I know what your name is. So go ahead.
Well, I've always looked it up, and it's been a negative tone to it, a negative connotation to it, a negative definition, because Cecil, every time I looked it up, it means blind. So I would be like traumatized growing up, because I'd be like, okay, I need some positive something, because I don't like my name. Like, why did my parents name me? And on top of that, I'm the third. So of all things, I'm looking at myself, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm looking at my dad like, really? Like, so we've been blind for three generations. But I realized that after a while, my middle name, I'm like, oh, Worthy. So kind of put together, I'm like, okay, maybe that's why I'm a late bloomer when it comes to certain things.
You know what your last name means?
Good question. Honestly, I don't. I should, and maybe I just don't remember, but I don't have it.
I'm gonna tell your listeners something. I mean, we're just gonna sway it a little bit because I love name meaning so much.
Yeah.
One day I was reading the Bible and I got to Chronicles. And I was like, what do I do with this? Like, do I just sit here and read names for 25 pages? Like, what am I going to get out of this? And so I felt God tell me, like, start translating the names. And you know what I found? I haven't even translated all. I translated about 13 names. And it started to say the story of the New Testament intertwined in the names of the Old Testament. Old Testament Hebrew, New Testament Greek. So the revelation came to me like, I think when God says, I'm writing your name in the Lamb's Book of Life, it means that he's continuously writing our story. Exactly. So we're a part of the story. So what I did is I actually put my family's names in chronological order. And then I translated them, and it was a very powerful story. Like I said, just from Josie, meaning God will add, and then, you know, La Corte, meaning the courtroom. Imagine now the stories after that. I'm named after my grandma. My brother's named after my grandpa. So there's repetition in the names, but I'm telling you, translate your names in your family, and there's a special story will come out of it. I'm telling you.
I believe it. No, I believe it, because I think as I got older, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I'm refused to look at what I used to look at in that way. So then it drove on this. I dove on this journey of like, okay, let me switch gears, because I got more comfortable and more rooted in my identity in Christ. So that's where the middle name came. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm worthy. And then looking at everything that has been happening in my life, I'm like, okay. All right, I get it. But man, when I was younger, my name was jacked up all over the place. I had it worse than you when it comes to first names, I believe, because Cecil was not common. Cecil actually an old name. It's an old-fashioned name. You hear a lot of grandpas and uncles have it. You know, Cecil was wrong. Cecil, Cecile, Cecilia. People thought it was Cecilia because in school, I'll just share this story real quick before we move on. But in school, literally, on the attendance sheet, it says Cecil right there, but teachers and even substitute teachers would think the name is cut off, so they think it's missing IA. So when they call attendance, they're like, "Oh, Cecilia," and I'm like, "It clearly says right there, Cecil. What part of that did you miss?" You know what I'm saying? So I've always had people check my name.
You literally did the same hand action. So we could talk about names. My legal name is Giuseppina. It's the Italian version of Josephine. Imagine me, like, we'll talk about what people used to call me, and it wasn't a nice name. Okay, let's do that, because substitute teachers didn't know me as Josie, and like, they'll read the attendance and they'll see my legal name. They're not gonna call me Josie. They're gonna call me. I'm like, oh no, here we go again. Let's try to
you gotta wait for it. Like, okay, come on.
So I get it. I totally get the name.
No, I get it. I understand. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad through names and all, you're here. And so Josie's with us today. And I guess for people who don't know who you are, how would you, I mean, I feel like I got a pretty good gauge of everything, but we're all trying to get to know. So how would you, if you would describe yourself in one sentence, what would that be?
I would say I am a purpose birther and a business midwife. And so people meet me and they're like, what does that mean? Like, are you an actual midwife? And I'm like, no, I help people discover their purpose and birth their business. I have such a passion for purpose and helping people discover their inner reason why they're here. And even if you're a believer, if you're not a believer, like, some people are just lost. They're just lost. And sometimes I see people on this women's like entrepreneurship group I'm in on Facebook. There's like 30,000 people, if not maybe more. And there's people that full out do like tarot card readings. And they'll be like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And I'm like, you're not going to find it like that. It's like purpose is inside of you. You don't need a fortune cookie to tell you your purpose. You don't need your job to tell you your purpose. So I'm super passionate about purpose, and I love helping people discover it and uncover it.
That's dope. That's dope. I should have said don't add commas, but you did. But it's okay.
I was gonna say, I'm going off. I'm a talker.
That's so good. Is that something that was, you just had that nature to just crave purpose, like even when you was younger? Was that something? Because I mean, I'm sure helping people was just natural, but when it came to now streamlining what that looked like, was that always just a thing like you just know, or did that come later? because I know, like, for me, I was a person, I'm a creative through and through. And what that means is, because people define creative in different ways. For me, I am a man of many, 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 many gifts and talents. And that was actually frustrating for me.
Me too.
Like, that wasn't people don't realize, like, creative
tears. I've cried tears. Like, God, you've gifted me with too many things. I don't know what to do first.
It's too much. And people think that is a blessing, but even though it is, it's one of those things where people don't understand when it comes to trying to decide what you want to do. It is a lot of frustrating times. I remember when I was younger, it was more so of, you're good at everything, but then when it came down to knowing what you want to do for, like, a career and stuff like that, I was stressing out because I'm like, I'm good at sports. When I was younger, I did sports. I had a state ring and all this stuff, did track and all this. And then growing up, my background is spoken word. I've been doing poetry for a long time. So for me, between sports, between performing and being great at event planning and all this stuff, it's like, how do I pick one? But it went from picking one to God telling me you don't have to pick one.
Exactly.
You just have now to find to streamline everything into one package.
Yes.
So I think my question for you is, like, how was you able to kind of figure out, like, okay, this is how I want to get this done? Did that come early in your age, or as you just got older?
Well, when I was in 2009, I was in 2009, 2010 was my last year of high school. And I came up with this idea. I wanted to start a clothing company called Live to Aspire. And so Live to Aspire grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And the concept then, now what it is now, that's still being worked on underground, is it's a talent management agency, or a network that allows creatives to connect and collaborate across the world. It's not fully functional right now, but that's the big dream. That's the big umbrella. And so it started as a clothing line and built up. I've made one-of-a-kind pieces. I've made jewelry. I've done all this stuff. And then I was in a program called the Remix Project in Toronto. So it's a big urban arts, like, incubator. They actually have one in Chicago as well. And it was founded by, like, Drake's entourage. Now, like, the OVO peoples pretty much run it. So my program director, his name is Brian Brock, and now he's the creative director for Division. And so there's some big, like, I met Kendrick Lamar through there, Melanie Fiona, like Future the Prince, which is Drake's DJ. Like, I was on Drake's documentary. Like, as soon as I got saved, God pumped me into the industry, and I went from admiring the industry in Toronto to being a part of it. And I didn't think I was going to make it into this program, but it's a 9-month program, and only 30 people out of 300 that applied that year made it. So it was like 10%, and it was eye opening. I got to connect and create. Imagine there's like a photo studio and a recording studio, and everything is like at your disposal. You can, like, there's people there that are photographers and all this kind of stuff, and you can just hop in and be like, yo, you want to do a shoot today? And it's like, yeah, let's do a shoot today. So it was so eye opening, and like major connections through that still. And then I went ghost from the industry because I went deep 3 years. I didn't work. I didn't go to school. I was like in the book, in the Bible, like, for 3 years. My parents, I come from a family who are not believers, Catholic background. They thought I either joined a cult or wanted to become a nun. So it went really extreme. So to scale it back, I was always creative, even as a child. I've been doing graphic design since I was 13. So that's my main stream of income, graphic design. I went to film school because God told me, graduated as valedictorian of my program. At my old church, I was like training the youth in social media, graphic design, like everything you could think of that I pretty much touched. I think other than music production, but I just recently learned how to play the guitar like 5 years ago. I could play the drum. Like there's so
what? Wait. You still guitar, drums.
Guitar, I do the djembe, so the African drum.
Yeah, and actually me too. That's how I got introduced to the Indica boombox at my church. I used to be part. So fun fact, I used to be part of the worship team before I transitioned to other things. Just because musical background. My family's a very, very heavily music background between sports and music. That's just in me by nature. That's dope. That's dope. That's cool.
So like there's the more you get to know me, the more people are like, like, what don't you do? Like, you're literally good at everything you touch. And so I'm a quick learner. And so, like you said, like I've gone into styling. I've styled music videos and photo shoots and all this stuff. I've designed clothes. I've in front of the camera, behind camera, on TV, but in film production, like literally all the facets I understand. But I think God is really setting me up. So then when the talent management or a network of creatives comes along, I want to be able to train and raise creatives. Because I've had such a creative background, I can see raw gems. And so I didn't know what the logo for Live to Aspire was going to be. And one day I like literally saw it in my mind as my friend was praying, and it's a circle. It's kind of hard to explain, but pretty much it looks like a diamond from above. But it's without that many facets. And I tried to add more facets, and the Lord was like, nope, that's how simple it's going to be. And I'm like, okay. So it's a double meaning. It's a diamond from above, but also a diamond from above, because we are raw and we need to be cultivated and then pumped out. So I believe I'm like a producer of people. Like I see raw talent, and I'm like, I need you to model. And they're like, I never modeled before. And I'm like, watch. And by the end of the photo shoot, they're like, oh my gosh, I had the best time. So anyways, Live to Aspire is not like, I'm talking about it a lot, which maybe might be something I really need to dig into in the season. But this is how Sign Jayla was born, as a business, as an enterprise. I started to say, okay, Live to Aspire is the massive umbrella. I know I want to get to this place. I want to have a platform for creatives around the world and have hubs where people, like similar to Remix Project, they can sell their things. They can create their things. There's computers, there's this and that. But I need to do this for myself before I can do it for anybody else. So I released branding packages last year. I was actually working as a flight attendant for a year. I got fired from my job. And before that, I loved it. Great. I love travel. I really do. But I really think that God opened the world of travel, because God, within the last 7, 8 months, 9 months, God is like, you're a missionary. And I'm like, I didn't. Oh, that's why I love traveling. Right. He opened that up for that, and that opened the doors for me to be in Florida for a long time. But anyways, long story short, I started to do it for myself. I launched my branding packages officially. I never really promoted myself as a graphic designer or as a branding consultant. And so I did in September, actually around this time, I did 10 slots for $500 for this massive like package that's worth, now I offer it at like over $1,000. And I sold out 10 spots in 7 days. So I locked in $5,000 in a week. And I was like, oh, well,
here it is.
So now I'm helping people. I'm in the process of launching an online course called Purpose to Purchase. So birthing that your purpose, understanding what that means, and making a profit out of it. That's where I am right now.
That's so like, that's amazing, because it's just it's definitely similar to even myself and how kind of things work. Things kind of intertwine the way it does, and you'll find the meaning and the purpose of it. And as you go along, you'll realize like, oh, okay, got it, I get it. Like for me, fortunately for you like went to school for some of this stuff. I didn't go to school for nothing. Like I learned graphic design on my own. No, and I tell people like, hey, if you feel like you're better at learning through some type of school setting and stuff like that, go for it. I have no problem with it. For me, everything that I do, I've learned on my own. Graphic design, editing video, editing audio, poetry, barbering. Like, and I'm a barber too.
You know, I can barber too. I cut my brother and my dad's hair. So
if you can do a fade,
I can a decent fade. Next time I do it, I'll show you. Next time I do, I'll show you.
I'll be on the first flight.
I'm ready. You gotta teach me. I know you have to use your wrist to really.
It's a lot of wrist action. It's a lot of wrist action.
I got you.
Barbering
I know.
Hey, look, I don't trust a lot of people, but most people who say that will be like, "Oh, I know how to cut. I can do that. It's easy." And it's not. Like it once you,
it's definitely an art for sure.
Yeah, like because once you do it, it's once you do something, it just turns into autopilot. It's you know, you just get it done and you don't really think about it anymore. Like some people ask me, even when it comes to barbering, they're like, oh, you know, can you what do you think about when you barber, or what do you go through when you're doing it? And I'm like, nothing. Like I just do it. It is what it is. I think even with graphic design, I just do it. I mean, once you kind of get a vision of something, you just do it. Question I wanted to ask you, because you said all these things when it comes to branding, graphic design, all this stuff, and you're a bona fide creative. We firmly have planted this. And I can relate. So I think, do you find it hard to kind of turn that switch off in times where it's like, because one of the things that, of course, you know, people who listen, they know this is under the Craft Factory umbrella. So the Craft Factory, for those who don't know, it's pretty much, it's a space where we serve creatives through resources, content of various things. So that may mean this podcast is under that. Whether it's we give graphic design, teach writers workshops, visual presentations, all that, you name it. It's all about serving the creatives with different resources and content and different things. And one of the things I find, and also crushing any kind of myth that creatives feel like they're under. I don't like what creatives believe sometimes. And it first honestly started with like inspiration, for example. Yes, inspiration does matter, but when it runs out, then what? Like, what are you relying on, essentially? A lot of creatives don't believe in structure. Again, that's a myth that I don't believe in. You need structure. So I just several different things that I'm just after. But one of the things I've observed is that we have a hard time turning that switch off, like that creative button. And that can affect, who knows? It can affect your sleep cycle. It could affect your day, whatever it is, in a good or in bad way. So for you, I guess from what you are experiencing, and even in this season, like how is it hard or is it easy to kind of turn that switch off, or is it one of those things where it's just going to be there, you're just living with it?
I really don't understand the question, because it's like it doesn't turn off. I've been creative since like I can remember.
I guess in relation to rest.
And in relation to rest, I think I'm good on the resting part. Like I sleep well. I've never had really hard time sleeping unless I'm getting like crazy dreams and attacks in my sleep. That's a whole other story. But I sleep well. I think I'm more lack in the structure. I definitely lack in the structure, in the schedule. Like I just recently like had a schedule made for me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick to it. And I tried, and I'm like, this is overwhelming. This is a lot. I want to be free with my time, but then things are being sacrificed in that, you know, place. So I don't think that in terms of creativity, it never turns off. Like I can make a graphic on my phone. Like, you know, once I have like over 15 years of graphic design experience, and I don't like, resources. Like I can, most of the videos that you see me post as of late, like all edited on my phone. So the tools, it doesn't really matter the tools that you use. Obviously computer is easier, but I can't turn off the creativity. But with rest, it's important. I think it's two things: the scheduling and understanding that, staying on top of that, and then self-care, understanding what self-care looks like to you. Lately, self-care has been looking like making reels, and like that's self-care for me. Like it's work, but to me, it's like I accomplished something. Wow, I edited it. I got it on spot. Like this is cool. So taking the time for what makes you happy and makes you feel accomplished in the midst of the client work or the mundane and stuff like that.
No, that's key. And that's key. I personally, that took time for, is music still playing on my phone? There was a time where even for me, it was hard to rest, in the sense, because I would translate that to not doing anything. When I got older and you started getting wiser, and it's like, oh, that's not technically that doesn't have to be rest, because rest is, like you said, you're doing something that refuels
exactly
you. It doesn't necessarily mean doing nothing.
Yeah,
that could mean if you are literally writing in your journal, maybe that refuels you. If you're watching a movie or something, that means that you're refueling yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing anything or being lazy. And I think a lot of creatives kind of go in that mindset of resting. They think just being lazy, and that's like, that's not the case. So going backwards a little bit.
Yeah.
Back in your heyday. When it comes to like growing up, born and raised, where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born and raised in Toronto. Okay. My family's Italian, like I said. So my mom met my dad in Italy. My dad was already staying in Canada. There was an earthquake. Long story short, they got engaged after 2 months. My dad came back 6 months later, got married. I came in the year later. So I actually learned Italian before I learned English because my dad was always at work and my mom didn't know English. So that's why you can kind of hear an accent sometimes. It's very subtle, but I heard it's there. I like it.
I only notice when you get really, really hype or excited. I can
when I get passionate,
just a little. It's really not strong, actually, no, but I can hear it.
Yeah, I love it. I really do. I love it. So yeah, I learned Italian before I learned English, and yeah, I've always been in Toronto. I never thought that I would be called anywhere else. I am very, very connected in the city. I know a lot of people in different circles, Christian circles, creative circles, industry circles, a lot of different things. And so like when God started to open up the world to me, I always knew I had a global call, but even when you can't materialize it because it hasn't manifested, that's a good one. You can't materialize it because it hasn't manifested. You're just like, I know this is inside of me. I know I'm worth this. I know that this is this, but I can't, I don't see it. So when I started to get connected globally and realizing like every city that I went, even specifically in the States, which is where I mainly traveled to, but like New York and Florida, I'm like, wow, like.
Ooh, what's your favorite city? What's your top? I'll say top two. Let's just top two. I don't want to say one.
Okay, so in the States, I've only been to like New York, Jersey, Chicago, and Florida. And I love Florida. I can't Fort Lauderdale area. I love palm trees. Like first time I saw the ocean in Florida, I had to dunk my finger in to lick it just to make sure it was salt water because my family's from Sicily and it's an island. So when I say I'm an island girl, people are like, what, you island girl? I'm like, I'm an island girl. Like I have island blood. So I've only seen the ocean in on an island, not on a coastal area. So I'm like, but is this real? Like people speak English and there's a beach. I'm sure California is the same. I've been told that it's beautiful and I haven't been to Cali yet. But yeah, I really do love Florida. God has given me such a heart for Florida. Revealed to me so many things. Like I literally went to the Capitol in January. I'm speaking with senators and on Children's Week and about pro-life and all this stuff, connected me in so many different places. I probably know over 100 people in the last just 2 years. Just craziness. Crazy. Yeah, the stories of Florida are next level, but I love it.
Florida, I would love to go to, I've been to Florida, but the only reason why I just don't go as much is, again, in California, you're not used to tornadoes and humid weather like that in the South and stuff like that.
It's drier out there.
Yeah, California is Southern California to be exact. Actually, it's very dry. When it's summertime, it is summer. It is hot.
There's fires out there.
Yeah, the fires out here right now is crazy.
I heard.
It's more northern, so it's going up from northern all the way to Washington, Oregon area.
Wow.
But no, out here it's very, very crowded. Number one, but then versus other states, it is a different culture. It's very warmer. It's warmer out here, and but I'm glad that you feel comfortable in Florida. Florida's a good city. Florida is a good city. And
Florida is so different. You can go from Tallahassee and it's green, and in Orlando it's very Disney and touristy, but then you go down south and it's just like, wow, like it's so islandy, and the palm tree. I love palm trees. Like it makes me like tingle in my stomach. Like I don't know. I love the tropical stuff, and I can't stand the snow. Like I don't like the cold at all. Like not one bit.
Really?
Yeah, I can't stand it. What honestly, I'm the most strangest Canadian, as all my Floridian friends say. I'm telling you, it's like we say 15 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is like out there. Maybe like 30 or what. I don't know what it is, but it could be like that, like a chilly night, and I'm there like with a scarf, and people are like, "Are you okay? Like you're the strangest."
Oh my God.
I get cold so quick. I can't stand it. Cali, I'll feel comfortable out there. I love the.
If you come to Cali, you'll be fine. We treat. It'll be 60 degrees, and we think it's the Arctic. Like it's bad. We're kind of spoiled when it comes to the weather.
Listen, let me tell you. Let me educate everyone and yourself.
Please.
You know, because I'm still understanding the whole Fahrenheit thing, because I don't understand. Y'all are special out there in the States. You need your own way to measure temperature, but okay. Did you know that negative 40 degrees Celsius is negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit? That's where they meet.
Really? I never knew that.
Imagine negative 40, and imagine that here in Toronto, we experience negative 40. Okay?
Oh, but wait. Yeah, because it's not, they meet, but that doesn't mean it feels the same.
Oh, no, it feels the same. Negative 40 degrees is negative 40 degrees Celsius. It feels the same.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now imagine negative 40. You said you're cold at 60. Imagine negative 40. Okay, your eyelashes, your tears are freezing. Your nose are freezing. Like your legs, you have to wear like 2 pairs of pants. Like you can't. It's like dry cold. Like you have dry heat. You have dry cold. Like piercing.
Borderline frostbite. Yeah.
Want it no more. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah, no, Cali, I'm thankful for it. I mean, I've been to other states, Chicago and New York. I love it. Chicago's a whole nother world when it comes to cold weather.
It's honestly the windy city in Chicago out there.
It's
very, even in October around World Changers time, it is cold.
Yeah, I don't mess with it. I did it one time. No, I did it a few times actually, for World Changers, and it's hard. It's hard for me. I'm like, oh no. So back in Canada, so you're born and raised, and you're growing up in that culture.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, what's it like growing up out there? Like, what's the culture? I'm very interested.
Okay. So let me tell you something about Toronto. Toronto's very interesting. Toronto is like the New York City of Canada. It literally feels like very similar to New York. It's just smaller and cleaner. 1. 2, Toronto is very, very influenced by the Jamaican/Caribbean culture. Very.
And people want to clown Drake for copying.
No, like
it's what it is.
It is what it is. No, it really is what it is. Like I have a lot of Caribbean friends, Jamaican friends. When they meet me, I'll start to like speak certain slang, and they're like, "How are you so cultured?" And I'm like, "This is how we talk. Like this is how we speak. This is our slang. Is I mean." If you're in the urban world, I mean, even people that are not in the urban world talk like that. And then it's like, it's crazy because I did my flight attending training in Calgary, which is like where the Rocky Mountains are. Whatever states are under there, like just imagine that. And like, it's so strange because so Jamaicans speak patois. In Toronto, we have like this, we call them the mandem, or like the Toronto man swag, like slang. Like they sound like Jamaicans, but it's like a whitewashed, like version of Jamaican. So like imagine like Drake-ish.
Yeah.
But then in Calgary, they'll try to speak like people from Toronto. So now it's like extremely washed out. Like you're just like, you're losing it. Like, so everybody tries to be like people from Toronto pretty much.
Is it like it? Because when you say that, I can only imagine, and this may not happen, but do people who are from those parts, do they get offended, or do they feel some type of way if other people speak or that way, but it's like incorrect? Or what? Have you ever experienced that?
I've never experienced that. They do. Some people might look at you like strange. So for example, I had this funny story. It's happened to me a few times. So like I can understand like the accent. It's like English, but you know, the Jamaican like accent, so to say. So I was in this flea market, and I was wearing these baggy jeans with like a massive Rocawear belt. Don't judge me, but anyway, I with like Air Forces. I don't know. Oh gosh, straight up. So anyway, I was in this flea market, and I was like looking through these belts and stuff, and these two Jamaican ladies are going back and forth like, who does she think she is? Who's this girl? Da 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 da. Like I can totally hear them. And so at one point I just got fed up. I was like, you know, I can understand you. Like, this is disrespectful at this point, please. And they looked at me like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So I don't know. I guess I've never really experienced it of people getting offended, but some people might look at you with like side eye, like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, yo, like, all my friends are like you. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, it's not like, but Toronto as a whole, they call it like the world in a city. Like we're extremely multicultural. What we've always learned growing up is that Toronto is like a salad. Like Canada is more like a salad. You see the different like tomato, this is that. But in the States, it's like a melting pot. So like one thing I've experienced in the States when it comes to culture, I have two stories. One, people will call me Italian Canadian, and I'm like when people say African American, and I'm Italian Canadian. Like here, when we ask somebody like, hey, where are you from? People just say, I'm Jamaican, I'm Italian, I'm this. We don't say like I'm Jamaican Canadian, or like we don't say that. We say our culture straight up. Or unless you're Canadian, we say I'm Canadian. Like, but when people ask me like, oh, where are you from? I say Italian, because that's what they're going to ask me. Because I'll say, oh, I live in Markham, or I live in Toronto. They're like, no, but where are you from? And I'm like, I'm Italian. So when I came to the States, I've had it happen to me in New Jersey. I had it happen to me in Florida, where I'm just interested in culture. So like, I would hear accents, right? So I was in this like, what is it, Burlington or whatever it was. I was in the store, and I hear a lady that has either a Ghanaian or a Nigerian accent, because the church that I went to previously, a lot of Africans. And so I was like, wow, like, where are you from? And she looked at me like, I'm not telling you. And I'm like, what? Like, I hear your accent. I want to like relate with you. Like, I don't know why you're reacting that way. That happened to me in Florida. I asked the guy, I'm like, I hear your accent. Where are you from? And he looked at me like, and I'm like, do you speak French? Like, I hear your accent. He's like, I'm Haitian. But like so reserved. So I asked one of my friends, I'm like, girl, please, you need to spill the tea and like tell me what's going on.
Help
like,
me out.
with like two heads when I ask them where they're from. Like, it's a normal question for us to ask up here. And she's like, well, in the States, like on our job applications, they'll ask you, do they ask you your ethnicity? We don't do that.
That's crazy. I'm today years old. I just found that out right now. So they don't ask that.
No, no.
See, this is why people want to move to get to Canada.
I'm like, people are coming they're like, I'm like, we don't do that. That's like disrespectful. Like, why would you ask? Like, obviously your age, you don't ask your age, but it doesn't put your ethnicity down. Like, that's bonkers for me. So she said that. And then she said, on top of that, like, if I'm asking like a Black person, they'll look at me like, are you going to treat me differently if you know where I'm from? And so she's African American, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, that's so weird. Like, I have to figure out how to ask people like, where are you from, in a nice way, or not ask it when I'm down there. This is what I'm saying, like subculture. So we can talk and we can say, you know, we speak the same language, but subculture, like, I never knew that. So how am I going to know to not ask certain questions, and that's going to be an offensive thing for you to know, like me to know where you're from? I just want to know. I want to relate to you. Like,
it's so weird. It's definitely like one of those things out here. Like, and I think it's because, you know, out here in the States, everything is just not automatically to be defensive over information. And so when people ask certain questions like that, it's hard for us to say like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, because you're always thinking, okay, someone's trying to get something from me. And you could probably blame that on politics, on government, or everything of that. But it's one of those things where, yeah, out here, on the job applications, oh yeah, they'll ask you, if not first, probably the fourth question, like, hey, ethnicity, and it'll have all the categories. And it's I mean, it's been around since heck I was born. So for us it's normal, but to hear that like they don't even have it on applications and stuff like that, it does make sense. It makes total sense. And so it's one of those things. It's again, I guess it kind of relates to the whole what we're doing now. And what we're in now with this climb with, you know, with civil rights and racism and stuff like that. We kind of have to get out of that.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of pick up things. And that's why people, and like I said, that's why people want to move to Canada so bad, because there's certain things that Canada has implemented that we just don't. And
one thing, you want to know something that's different, that like,
go for it.
We don't have Cash App, Venmo, whatever other app, money transferring stuff. Why? But wait, why? Because it's integrated straight into our banks. Every bank account has an e-transfer like option. I can literally go in my bank and e-transfer my friend straight from my bank. I don't need any other platform to like choose. So I'm like, wow, the States is so behind. Like they don't even have, just implement it into your bank. I don't understand. That was a big trick for me.
When I tell you, there's so many limitations when it comes to all of that, like out here, when it comes to Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, and all that stuff. Like
we have PayPal, but we don't have any. Like even me, I brought my phone down to the States. Like I could download. I had to try to change all my settings, and still it wouldn't take my Canadian account. I had to have an American account to open a Venmo, and I'm just like, this is so. The only way, literally, because I do business with people in the States, the only way that I can accept payment is PayPal. Is the best way is PayPal. Wire, but like you're paying so much for this transfer. PayPal is the best. It still takes a percentage, but I'm just like, man, y'all need a just email transfer.
So for you, so like, okay, so for you, it's like one of those things where when you come out here or when you do talk to people out from the States, it's almost like from your side of things, it's like, wow, there's so much happening where all they got to do is A, B, C, D, versus when we look at you guys, it's like we just kind of look at you and all like, oh my God, Canada they just have everything so organized in a sense. Whereas us, like we just got things everywhere.
A lot more organized than the States, which is so beyond me. Of like just like, I don't know. I think that the money thing is the one that's the most. I'm like, you guys are one of the biggest countries in the world. Like everybody looks at the States for everything. You don't even know how to put e-transfer into your bank. Like you don't know that Canada has it. Like just do it. Like
that is crazy to hear. Wow, that's amazing. Weird. That's like that's wow. That's blessing me. So of course, you know, growing up out there, you experience culture. Oh, before I even say anything else, what's a go-to food out there? If someone wants to go, what's a go-to food that you would?
Have you had poutine before?
Huh?
Poutine? Have you had poutine?
I don't. What is that?
Okay, so poutine. This is so it's a French food. It's like, so Canada's second language is French. It's fries with gravy and cheese curds. So it's melted. So like you're pulling the fries and it's like so cheese curds, like cheese balls, but they're a specific type of cheese. So, anyways, the best way that I've made it in the States, because I haven't found any good poutine out there. You know what? It's like loaded fries. So you can get different poutines, but the classic poutine is gravy and cheese on fries. Wow. I've asked for loaded fries and then I'm like, do you have steak on the menu? Do you have like a gravy? And so they bring me out the gravy and I'll drizzle it over like the loaded fries, take out the bacon. You can keep the bacon on, but like, it's kind of like loaded fries pretty much. And then Toronto is so multicultural. Like, have you had a shawarma before?
No, I have not.
So shawarmas like is a Middle Eastern food. So it's like, it could be meat or usually it's meat. I get it most of the time veggie, but they like slice the meat from like the stick thing and then they put a wrap. There's that. I just recently found out about, what is it called? A donair. Donairs are on the east side of Canada, also a Middle Eastern thing, but like it's weird. I don't know. It's like Donair. From that side of Canada. Okay. Yeah, Donairs. We also, what do we have? We don't have Dunkin' out here. So for all y'all, we don't have Dunkin'. We have Tim Hortons, which is our Canadian version of Dunkin'. We have Starbucks, but we don't have Dunkin'. The first time I tried Dunkin', it tasted like watered down coffee. I'm like, Tim Hortons is so much better than this. We also have Timbits, which are like little donut balls that are really, really good. Yeah, but poutine, I would say, is our statement, like Canadian food. Get poutine, like loaded fries.
Poutine. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'm a foodie, so I'm definitely always about food every day.
Do some research. You can probably make it. I'm telling you, you just need some good cheap shirts.
I probably could. So through all of this, and you know, I'm sure out there you're doing your business, and of course you see the world shifting literally before our eyes. There's so many changes. There's all this stuff going on. When the pandemic hit, which by the way, nobody could prepare for this. Guys. We're not for those who are listening, or watching. This is something this is beyond our control. It's not like we've prepared for it. It's not like we have strategized for it. It's just when it hit, and we're literally, all of us. I think from my eyes, I felt like all of us were kind of on this same level playing field when it hit, because it was like, hey, we figuring this out day by day. Like, what are we gonna do? And I guess for you, like when the pandemic hit and when it was time to like quarantine and everybody just got to be at home.
Yeah.
What was that like initially? Like how was that experience? Because as creatives, we go out, we like to venture, we connect with people, there's relationships, there's, and even if you're an artist, like for me, I'm a spoken artist, so a spoken word artist. So you can imagine, like, there's bookings I had to cancel, there's stuff I had to shift, I can't travel, I can't do this. So in your experience, what was that like initially when everything kind of hit?
I love it. It's great. I was actually in Florida when it hit. So I was,
and you mentioned that,
yeah. So I was in the most beautiful house that I've ever stayed in my life. Pool, anything you could think of. I stayed with a personal trainer. So I was like, while people are gaining weight, I'm like having abs for the first time in my life. So like oh gosh, quarantine was like the best thing for me. Like I loved it. They have a daughter who's 4 years old, London. We became best friends, and like, we just had a blast. I spent a lot of time with her. I learned a lot of what I want in my future life, in terms of like house and how I want to live, and just balancing everything from like understanding food waste. I did a lot of the cooking in the house. I love to cook. So I was like cooking Italian food and all that kind of stuff. It was fun. So like everything, I was kind of like, it was like a practice run for like my life. And then London is like my ideal daughter. Like she is literally like, I see myself in her, and I never had an older woman. Well, I had my cousin, but like not like really closer to me in age, that was like really with me, that really poured into me. And this girl is 4 years old, and you should watch her lead communion. Like like she's there like in the house, and she'll be like, hiya. I'm like, London, what are you doing? She's like, I'm casting out demons and I'm closing out my eyes so Jesus can help me. And I'm like, you are everything I want in a daughter, like beyond her years in like wisdom and understanding of like, you tell her that something's not good and she's like telling all of her friends. I'm like, you little evangelist, you can go ahead, girl, go ahead. I love her. And so I learned a lot about, the kind of mother that I want to be, the kind of house that I want, the things that I want around me, what makes me happy, like the simple thing of like waking up and seeing a palm tree, and how much that makes me happy, and how free I am. I mean, like, there's just so much that I learned while in Florida. But so there was that. And then as soon as I came back, I wasn't really working. I was like doing my own thing. I was working on certain projects, but when I came back, I started working even more. I was getting like, people were calling me like, hey, I want you to do this video. and I'm getting paid, and I'm just like, wow, this is great. So I feel like I'm coasting. Like I'm making pretty much as much money as I was making. Some months as much as I was making as a flight attendant, which flight attendants don't make a lot of money, especially in the beginning. It's a lot more of a glamorized life than you think. It's a whole other conversation. Like flight attendants don't get paid to board or like deboard. So you only get paid for the time that you fly, at least in Canada. And I'm sure in the States too. So flight attendants, like you have to be there an hour before you start, and you need to be there. Like you need to clock in pretty much at the time. And you don't get paid for that hour before. You don't get paid for interesting things. You get per diem when you're away in your city. But so yeah, I wasn't making like crazy amounts of money. I almost made as much as I was making as a flight attendant in doing my own business. And I'm here like, not that I'm not taking it seriously, I am, but I'm like just living life, and like I'm doing the things I need to do. But if I was like, yo, this is I know girls, like I know a girl in her own business doing coaching that's doing like $10,000 a month. Last month she did 20 grand. She's 23 years old. And I'm like, I had to like step back and be like, wow, God, like if I can, if she can do it, so can I. Like I got into a little bit of this like an envious type of jealousy thing. And I'm like, this is my friend. And I was like, how are they doing this? I want to tap into. So I've always wanted to do online courses for a while. And so that's why I tapped into the online course. And I've been a speaker for a long time. I've spoken at Toronto City Hall and at university and done this masterclass as a workshop, and seen so many people like get touched and moved by it and discover their purpose. It's called Discover and Uncover Your Purpose. So that's kind of how everything shifted. I've realized in the last year of really taking my business seriously that I love talking. I love getting on the phone and talking to people, my clients, and trying to figure out what they want to do. So I want to transition the Sign Jayla Enterprises to an agency. So everything would run through me. I would get the clients. I would speak to the clients. I would translate for the creatives, which is something so difficult, that can be so difficult when you're like, man, I can't get what this client's vision is. And I'm very much a visionary. So I can mock up all their like, hey, this is what I want. This is the colors. These are the fonts that you're going to use here. Just make it. And then so the creatives can just like put their blinders on. I'm a creative, but I'm very much a visionary.
You're a visionary.
Yeah. I can see, I'm a creative director. Like I see the vision full board. So yeah, transition to more of an agency, and then me run more of the like speaking and courses and stuff. And then funnel people into getting their branding packages and,
wholeheartedly wholeheartedly believe that, like, accurately. I understand that to a T. Visionary is something that, you know, even for me, that's very much my strong suit. I am not I'll tell you right now, I'm not the best at details, but I can give you an idea. You know, at the drop of a hat. And that's the advantage of, like, for people like, I guess, like me and you, like we can have an idea, you know, at any given moment. And being that visionary. And I think that's beautiful to do, and to have, is to be able to cast vision is very, very important. And being able to provide English, I like to say provide English to the creative. So, because a lot of times creatives don't, you have a group of creatives that they don't know how to articulate what they want. They know what they want. But that's where people like you step in and you provide that
language. You give language to. So what I say is I bring visuals to your vision. And that's the translation that happens. Beautiful. You give me writing, you give me a write-up, like, what do you want to do? What's your accomplishment? What's your target audience? Who are you getting at? All that kind of stuff changes your fonts. It changes your colors. It changes, like, are you serving women? Do you want to serve men and women? Like, it changes everything. And I love, like, color psychology and understanding, like, what different colors mean and what different colors evoke, like the reds and the boldness of that. But there's, I mean, it's a whole thing.
Briefly, before I play this song for you guys, but briefly, like, I'll talk about that. Like, what, as far as color psychology, and how is that so much important? How important is that to what you're presenting as a creative?
It's really, really big. Yeah. Color psychology. It's like, brands use it and you don't even know that it's being used. So let me give you an example. We don't have Wells Fargo out here. I thought Wells Fargo was a food place. I thought Wells Fargo was a fast food place. Why? In school, we learned that like a lot of fast food places. Now listen, McDonald's, red and yellow. Burger King, red and yellow. A lot of fast food places have red and yellow because red is enticing to appetite. My mouth is water. I'm so hungry right now. And yellow is like a calming. I mean, there's more meanings to it, but red and yellow usually to me represents fast food. So when I saw Wells Fargo, I'm like, what is that thing? Like even the way it's written, like it reminds me of like Burger King. Like it looks like a food place. I really think they should change their branding because I would go for like a plaque or like, I don't know. I don't think their branding really matches what they're doing, but that's
is that Burger King?
No, Wells Fargo.
Oh, Wells Fargo.
I don't think the colors match what they're, maybe it's like older branding, but I think they should go like black and like solid block letters. Like they look like a circus to me. I don't know. That's me.
That's something for me. Like I just found that out like right now, how important and just that deeper meaning. Because and again, I'm in the States, so of course Wells Fargo's been around as long as I've been born. So when I see it, it's just automatic, like, oh, Wells Fargo, you know, red and yellow. But when you talk about it the way you did or what you do, it's like, oh shoot, she's right. Like that does I can see how that looks like a burger joint.
It looks like a burger joint. Like honestly, I really, if there's creatives watching this, like look into color psychology and it'll tell you the positive and negative of the like color, what it invokes and why it invokes that. Like for example, green. What do you think of green? Freshness. Usually grocery store. How many grocery stores do you know that have green in it or yellow in it? Like we have a store out here called No Frills, and it's all yellow. And like in Florida, there's Publix. It's green, like very fresh. We have another place here called Freshco, and like green. Like you want that freshness to come alive in that. And so yeah, colors.
I gotta look at all of my colors now and be like, wait a minute.
It's so interesting. And then colors and branding are so important. Like for me, if you look at my colors, I wear neutrals. I love like neutral florals. Yeah. Like color. You go to my Instagram, you'll see it's like pinky, neutral.
Very coordinated. Yes.
On my Instagram is the same. You go to my website, it translates to that. I just know my brand and I want to wear it. So that's why like literally all my heels are like in the same shade. Even my shoes, it took me forever to find sneakers that were like in that tone. Like I literally shipped them from the UK. I'm low-key a sneakerhead. But yeah, like, I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I want to portray. I feel weird in like a green, like it doesn't match my brand. And when you carry that along in everything that you do, I'm not saying go if your brand is all teal, wear teal, but
wear teal for the rest of your life.
in certain occasions, like if you're taking a business photo shoot, maybe you want to add a little bit of teal if it's in your logo, like or have a teal background or edit something that's teal. So it's just so important to go across the board, to have your fonts match along the way, and to portray and to carry your brand identity in everything you do.
That is amazing. That's really, really unique, and that's probably something that we needed to hear. Because a lot of people don't dive that deep when it comes to that's detail. That's detail 101. When it comes to branding and even creating graphics and stuff like that, a lot of people they throw colors because it looks good. But when it comes to catching the eye, and that I think that relates to also targeting your audience too.
Of course,
like, your audience, that stuff matters when it comes to colors, when it comes to color schemes. Everything like that. So that was good to know. I thank you for that. So yeah, so we're of course with Josie, and you know, of course the pandemic, and we're still in it. We're September, still in it. And I know for you, business really has been going good. And nothing's really been like too big of a shift in everything. And with everything that you're doing, and I'll say with everything going on in the world, besides, because you know, people say there's different types of pandemics, if you will, when it comes to, of course, COVID.
Sure.
And then you have the thing with this stuff with racism and trying our best to end in that, and then you have mental health and you have all this stuff going on. How have you been? I'm trying to find the words. I think I want to say, like, how have you been able to take everything in, if you will, and stay in a place of making sure that you yourself don't get too just stretched in that capacity? Because I mean, we're not, let's just call it what it is. Like, we all know what's going on. We all are very in some way, shape, or form sensitive to it. It don't, whatever the level is, when it comes, especially with, you know, police brutality and everything that's been going on. So I'm pretty sure nobody is just oblivious to it at this point in this day and age in 2020. So on your end, I guess how have you been kind of handling it, and what are the things that I guess from an encouragement context that you can see that will change?
I think that the main thing that this pandemic time has caused is self-reflection. And what I mean by that is, I've been listening to Pastor William McDowell a lot, and he's been talking about...
He's such a great teacher, by the way.
Woo! I didn't know he was such a great preacher until I went down to Florida and literally heard him. I didn't even know his church was in Florida. Let's just say that.
I went to Atlanta for a conference, and he did a workshop for us. It was literally, I'll say this and I'll let you continue. So the conference, it was literally called Creative Conference for creatives. And I went down there actually during my birthday time, and took time to invest. It was a birthday gift actually, to invest in myself. Took time away, went down there to Atlanta. He was one of the speakers, taught. That was my first time hearing him. And so I'm like, hey, the way he teaches the word and how he breaks down worship, because that's what he was talking about when it comes to relationship to creatives. It was crazy. So I can only imagine, like, when you saw it, because I saw you post on your story too, like, yo, this guy is...
my God. So in the beginning of the pandemic, he was talking about a divine distinction that's happening. He's like, by the time this ends, you're going to know who's real, who's really, really following the Lord, and who's like falling by the wayside. Like, I'm seeing pastors post during the pandemic, and I'm there like, are we reading the same Bible? Do we have the same Holy Spirit? Like, what are you reading? Like, you're trying to encourage your people, but like, do you understand the climate, spiritual climate that's happening right now? But so it's like frustrating me in the sense, there's so much that I could say. What was the question? What were we saying? Like, what? How is that, like, in a sense of encouragement? Yeah, it's a time of introspection. If you haven't sat down with yourself yet, go sit down with yourself and figure out what's
okay too.
Yes, stop. This is the time. This is like never before seen in our history, or the history of our parents or grandparents, that like time has stopped, at least from my knowledge. Like time has stopped for months. Like, take the vacation, quote unquote. Don't stress about the money. Like, take the time to become the person that you need to be. Like, our parents never had the time. Work their whole lives. Like, this is the time to look back and just pause, ponder on the things that you want, the things that you don't want in your life. Okay, maybe you gained a few extra pounds. Get decisive and start chasing the things that are you. For me, like, I started doing my show like last month, and people are like, Josie, you need to start doing this and interviewing people. And I don't think I would have been on the show if I didn't start that, because you've been seeing all the stuff that I've been doing, and it's called Let's Talk. What you said is called Let's Talk, right?
Let Them Speak.
Let us speak. So let us speak. Let's talk. I just named it Let's Talk because I wanted to talk about purpose. I want to talk about a whole bunch of other things. In the future, I had more topics. Maybe, I don't know. Right now, I just really want to focus on purpose. And I can go years. You can go years to talk about purpose. But what am I saying? What am I saying? It's been a time of like, you really need to live out that purpose that's inside of you, because now you're paused. Maybe your job is no longer your job, or you're like, wait, am I really happy working this? Like, it's not always about happiness, because purpose brings pain too. But what do I want out of my life? Do I want to live in the city that I'm in? Do I want to serve the people that I'm serving? Am I serving my community? Like, we just got a puppy about 2 months ago, and we begged our parents for like a dog for like so long. His name is Mikey. He's a Pomsky, a Pomeranian Husky, so he stays small. And I say that to say, like, that brings us outside of our house. Like, we have to go on walks with him and like play with him and da da da. So like, I've met so many people on my street in the last 2 months just because I have a dog that I've never seen, that have lived there for the last 16 years, as long as we've lived there. So I'm seeing people, I'm meeting people with other dogs. Like, this is amazing. This is the people are looking at this pandemic as like, oh my gosh, there's no stability. That's what people ask me, like, Josie, you don't have stability. And I'm like, I have the best stability ever. Like, my stability, my foundation is in God. Like, it doesn't matter where I am. I've been in Florida, literally on an air mattress, in a floor closed home, washing myself with a Solo cup and with no hot water in the house, because God told me to do it. And in a matter of a month, I'm literally like sleeping in the house that an NBA player owns. And I'm like, God, how did you do that? And so like, I say all of that to say, be faithful in the little. What God has given to you right now, cultivate your gifts, cultivate your talents, invest in yourself. For me, I started taking my first online course I've ever done. It's with Brian Meadows, Apostle Brian Meadows, called Anomalies. And it's made—
That's the conference. That was a conference I went to, a creative conference, founded by, Apostle Meadows. He actually, of course, he postponed it. He postponed it this year, obviously, for the pandemic. So he took it virtually.
You know what? I wasn't even follow. What happened is, this usually happens to me. Like, I'll follow people or like, I won't know much about the thing. And then I'm like thrown into it, and then so much favor. So I probably followed Apostle for like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. I saw him on a live. He was talking about anomalies. I'm like, I'm a creative. I'm called to the marketplace. I think this is something I need to do. And I've honestly gained so much more than I thought I was going to gain. It's literally for creatives called to the marketplace. It dissects your whole vision. I thought I was going in because I'm like, I'm making an online course about purpose. I want to dig in more about, to know my purpose and my gifts and my talents. And the quality of people that are in that group, is beyond me, like just beyond me. And we talked it, we're there, and we're like, shit, there's like sometimes 60 people, maybe there's 160 in the group, but 60 people something that come on the calls, and I'm there like chopping it up, like favor, like they're like, we want you to speak. And like almost every call I've spoken up until now, and it's not because I've chosen to, like they just pick me
favor.
And so I'm just like, wow, what he's doing is literally creating a platform for creatives. And I think he talked about something about going on tour with Anomalies or raising up this whole platform. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So I say that to say, invest in yourself. I know we can't be out and about meeting people, but join an online course. There's a lot of online communities. Like, I even started a prayer group for women, and it wasn't even my intention to start. My friends were like, one of my girls was like, hey, Josie, you want to pray? I'm like, let me just ask some other girls. There's like 25 people in this group, and we meet like 2-3 times a week sometimes. And so there's places that you can plug into. Like, you don't need to be an island and be doing this alone. There's a lot, like, find the thing that you're passionate about, and there's a Facebook group for it, for sure. Get plugged in, and you never know who you're going to meet in the process.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And side note with Apostle Brian Meadows, like he's a creative mastermind. That's how I got to know him through that. He's a special cat, special dude. And no, I agree with everything you said. And I think, and even as we close, I think the main thing, along with what you said, is making sure that people understand value, understand what's worth, knowing their worth. I think in 2020, of course, there's been a lot of exposure. There's been a lot of things being revealed. And I think we have to be cautious over, as things get revealed, know what's worth your time and know what's not worth your time. It's one of those things. It's just one of those things where when something's beyond your control and you're stripped down to just kind of going day by day with making stuff work because of the quarantine, because of all this stuff, you start to realize, okay, I'm spending time doing this. I'm spending time making this graphic, which I don't really need to make this graphic right now. You just start to narrow down certain things. Yeah. And if anything, you know, we're heading in September. We're in September, actually, and we're kind of on the way to close down this year. I really hope that we take this time to really, as we go into 2021, number one, if you are struggling like mentally in any capacity, please communicate. Ask for help, call your friend, call somebody. This ain't the time to be holding stuff in, honestly. It's just not.
But at the same time, I want to say, I think it's also the time to take inventory of the people that you have around you.
Yeah.
Like you said, like some things are just not worth your energy. If someone, every time you get on a phone call with someone, you're like, I just feel like I'm walking on eggshells. This is not like you're throwing off my emotions, throwing off my mental stability. Like, own your peace. Like, no, I don't want to sit there and no, I'm trying to be like Jesus. I've had someone said to me like, oh, you're not being Christ-like because you're cutting this person out of your life. I'm like, I'm trying to maintain my Christ-likeness. Like, that's my responsibility. What comes in, what comes out, the people that I have around you. I've been using the unfollow button a lot lately and blocking the things that I don't want. Like, I don't need to see it. When I look at some of these influencers online, I'm like, you have 38,000 followers and you follow 800 people. And I'm one of them. Like, whoa, that's nice. That makes me feel good. But on top of that, it's like, these people, like, I'm sure Beyonce, I think she follows 0. Some of these people, they don't follow anyone.
Anybody.
You can support, but like, don't take it personal. Someone literally took it personal last week and blocked me because I unfollowed her because I didn't like what she was moving. And I was like, like, you're wasting my energy. Like, and great, you love Jesus. All I said, I had Michelle Anna come on to my my Instagram live last week or this week, and she said, like, I'ma bless you and I'ma block you. Like, go with the Lord, with the love of the Lord. Like, don't take it personally. We're not.
Especially if there's nothing, like, it's not necessarily nothing wrong with you. It's just, I have to do in your context, like, I just gotta do what's right for me. I gotta keep stuff moving. This, whatever I'm doing is for my growth, and that's it. It's nothing towards you.
So it's like, I know we have to be sensitive to, you know, the people that are around us, but sometimes if there's people that you've never met in person, you don't really have a connection in any type of way, like, and even if you did, sometimes those people, like, especially when it comes to relationships, and so, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but sometimes, like, you can't be friends with people that you were in a relationship with because we don't see things eye to eye. And I think that part sucks the most out of everything is like, anyone with friendships, right? We were once friends. So like, we know each other. It's hard. It's like, you have to go through this whole grieving process with friendships and relationships. Like, you were the person that I went to. You're my friend. You're my whatever significant other. And now I can't go to you. So it's important to have a community around you of people that are praying for you, investing in you, honoring you, pouring into you, places that you're pouring into them. Like I always say, you're a step ahead of someone and always a step behind. So be quick to listen. The Bible says be quick to listen and slow to speak. But I say, like, be quick to listen and quick to share, in the sense of, if I learn something, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to post this on Instagram. Like, someone needs this right now. And yes, sometimes you have a process where like you're going through something with the Lord, but other times it's like, you could be the catalyst of somebody receiving a breakthrough. And sometimes people don't like, comment, share on it. They just see a post and it impacts them. And so know that your consistency will prove you. Your consistency will put you in front of the audiences. And like the Bible says, your gifts will put you before kings. And if you use your gifts, it's not like, oh, look, I have a gift.
Right.
It's not unpacked. Like, you need to unpack it. Take the talent out. Bury it. This is the time to cultivate your talent and bring it out and let people see your true colors. I was literally about to post the other day. If you're annoyed of me at this point on social media, you might as well like unfollow me now. Like, because more content is going to come out. And if this is too real, too raw, too whatever for you, like, you're not going to like me in a month or two, because you're just going to keep seeing my face. So you're always for someone, and you're not for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes in relation to just the quality over quantity. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care about honestly numbers, really. I care about the engagement. I care about, am I reaching you?
For sure.
It's for me, I've always been about the one. Like, if I can reach one, I'm fine. I'm perfectly okay. With all that we do, with all, you know, being a creative and all this stuff. If I can reach one person, I'm genuinely okay. And
plug something in here. I saw a video one time. I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look at it. And it's called 1/0. So, you know, not over zero.
That sounds like him.
1 greater than 0.
Yeah.
So basically, he said, you know, when I started, like, I didn't have that many views, but I realized there was one person that was watching me that opened the doors for all these great things. But so 1 is greater than 0 means it's better that you're consistent in the little than not do it at all.
Yeah. There it is.
So for me, I wanted to talk about imposter syndrome, but that, I feel like it's a conversation. But
that's another. I don't know.
I just posted a video today of me singing, and I put it like, I don't consider myself a singer, but I was worshiping God in the most authentic way that I could. And it scared me. Sometimes you have to do the things that scare you to break you out of your comfort zone. But showing authenticity and then showing up, you gotta show up. 1 is greater than 0. Do it, even if this grainy quality and all that kind of stuff. I'm an overcoming perfectionist, okay? And so we could go on forever.
I definitely think it's important that you have to understand, like, consistency. And I've said this, and it's funny you said I say it all the time to people. Consistency will always outrank talent any day. I don't care about, you know, you could be a phenomenal singer, but the person that may not sing well is singing every day. And if they're singing every day and you're not, and you're banking on the fact that you're good, eventually that person's going to be good.
You want to know another C that is a very important C? Consistency and character will outprove talent. Because you can have the same resume, the same qualifications, the same singing abilities, riffs and runs, and everything else in between. But if you suck at being a human, if you suck at being,
man, that's a turnoff. I won't even communicate with you.
Like, I don't want to be in conversation and you're mean and like nasty. I would rather like hire somebody that's of lesser skill, but with a teachable spirit that like I can train up to that level. Like, I don't want fake, man. I can smell fake from a mile away. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah. And I think this is like, even in this time, especially in this time, as a creative, and when you do what you do in this climate, it is very easy to kind of detect what you're talking about. Like, you notice that when people are caught up in the quantity of things, you notice when people just want a bag, or they just want to be showcased, or they just want this, they just want that. And it's like, if they're like, I'm a very much of a person I'm about community. And the reason why, because of that, is because growing up, I didn't have any brothers. So for me, when it comes to that, I'm like, I need somebody like give me a hug, like somebody show me love. So I'm very, very sensitive to that. And so even in this creative lane that I'm in, when it comes to business ventures and stuff like that, if there's not a chance for me to build a direct line of relationship with you, then
what's the point?
I won't. It's hard for me to connect with you. It's hard for me to work with you. And if you're on my team, and if I can't have a direct line of relationship, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. So it's important that we understand that, like, relationship. And I've heard somebody say this years ago, and it's always stuck with me. Relationship is the equity of the kingdom. Relationships are always the equity. It is not money. It never has been money for the kingdom.
That's good. Let me give you another one. So I have a longtime pastor. His name is Pastor. Yeah. He said, "Faith is the currency of heaven." So there you have another one. You got relationship, the equity of the kingdom, and faith is the currency of heaven. Like, if you don't have faith, you are going absolutely zero places. Like, you're just going to stay in what you see in your little bubble of like less than, your full capabilities. You won't take any risks. Why? Because you don't believe that there's anything past you.
Yeah.
And when you know that, like, there's a God that cares about you and that loves you, like, what? The earth is his footstool and I'm his daughter? What? Like, I can do anything. And don't get me wrong, like, you go through times where you're just like I said before, it's not manifested yet. So just yesterday I was crying and I was like, man, I know I'm capable. I know I got all this inside of me. Why don't I see it? Yeah. And God is just preparing your character, because the same way that people have said, like, Josie, like, you're going to be on TV, like, Josie, you're going to do all these big things. You have this global platform that God is preparing you for. And it's because of your heart that, like, you don't crave fame. I don't care. Put me in a room with whoever. It doesn't matter who I'm in the room with. You still go to the bathroom like me. You eat like me. Whatever.
Yes.
You do the same thing. So, like, I don't get the whole groupie thing, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah, so just being authentic to who you are, know that you take up space. When I walk into a room, I know who I am. So sometimes people can be intimidated of that. And that's what it's been growing up. One of the things that I didn't talk about earlier, I was really bullied growing up. Well, that was because a lot of girls were jealous of me because of the attention that I would get, because of the way that I looked or whatever. So there was times where, like, I spent like 2 months monitoring, like, the JKs and SKs, the junior kindergarten, because I couldn't go outside for recess because no one would talk to me.
Wow.
And so I had to get to the point where I was like, wow. I remember I was in this room. This used to be my bedroom, and my bed was, like, right here. And I said, God, like, well, I didn't know God at the time, but I was probably talking to God. I was like,
hey, bro, hey, whoever's up there.
I'm not called to fit in. I'm actually called to be different. And now, like, where are these people? God knows. Like, I don't even know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing, and I'm living up the true purpose. So a lot of the times, if there's anybody on here in college or like high school, you might not be friends with the people that you're with, and that's okay. But you just have to find people that are walking your lane and operate in that, and you'll be encouraged and blessed. Like, I'm so grateful for the people that God is connecting me to. It's beyond a blessing. It literally is currency.
It is currency. It is the equity of the kingdom. Relationships.
Faith, yes, that's good.
It's just the equity.
Good.
Yeah, we can go all day.
We can go all day. I told you I'm a
talker. Josie, I appreciate you so much. I don't know. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah.
Because I think there's more to unpack on this. But share where they can find you. If people don't know who you are, just share where they can find you and connect with you.
Sure. The best place that I'm pretty active every day is social media. I mean, is Instagram. You can find me Signed Jayla, SIGNEDJLA, and then everything else you just search Signed JLA, and that's my website, www.signedjayla.com. Literally, you search Signed Jayla, you'll probably find me, and if not, you can search me at Josie La Corte, and you'll find more things about me online somewhere. I would say read the bio on the on the website. You might see some familiar faces.
Yes. So make sure you guys connect with her. Hit her up for any like services that you need, graphics, business, branding. She's a beast in that. She is dynamic when it comes to that. I want to thank you for just coming on and sharing and chopping it up and having just a good old conversation.
It's good.
Yeah. So and actually, and I meant to say this too. Thank you, actually, because when you say midwife, for me, that stands for just standing in the gap. I feel like that is a thing that you're graced for, just standing in the gap when it comes to creatives, to provide that English and to be,
I'm gonna write that
down. Just honestly, just to be that the person that can intercede. I think what you do is a form of intercession. And
you know what? That's amazing. Go ahead.
No, I was and real quickly, that was just what I was thinking about earlier. In when it comes to what you do and how you do it, it's a form of intercession when you really think about it. I think.
Okay, explain that to me, because that call to intercession has been spoken over my life so many times, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not gonna say, I don't feel like I don't sit hours and hours in prayer, like, and I'm like, I feel like I have to like pray so much to be an intercessor, but now that you're saying it makes sense. You're standing
you're standing in the gap. It's a form. It is, when intercessors, of course, pray. That is, and for me, I'm an intercessor. I know that through and through. And so, the foundation though is prayer. You take everything to prayer. You take, who you're concerned about talking to, especially to prayer. But I think an extension of that, especially as creatives and as we are in this world of dreaming and writing and creating and branding and all this stuff, it's a form of intercession to me. You're standing in the gap for people who can't articulate their visions and dreams. And when you're able to stand in the gap and provide that, whether that's through, but the main source is prayer. When you're able to allow God to use you to provide that English, to provide the things that they want through you, you're a gap stander. you are
I've never heard it in that type of language.
It's and not to be confused with, here's what I'm not saying. For those who are still listening, if you're still listening after now 13 minutes, God bless you. But what I'm not saying is especially for creatives, is when you're standing in the gap for a creative, if you're that business person, that visionary, and you are providing insight, ideas, analytics, whatever it is, that doesn't mean you ditch the place of prayer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when it comes to standing in the gap as a creative to provide that, all of your ideas, all of your analytics, all of what comes from the place of prayer. It starts with prayer. I'm a firm believer, especially as a kingdom creative, you cannot do this stuff and do what I do, or the people on my team from the Craft Factory do, or what Josie does. You cannot do this stuff without having a prayer life. It's impossible. And so I think where people stop or hinder themselves when it comes to even the field that you do, and they want to do what you do, for example, I think where they stop themselves is they feel like they have to create it and they stop God from giving it to them.
Of course.
I think when it comes to, especially in these climates where we're in this pandemic, and it seems like it feels like we're trying to beat the clock because time is ticking and oh my God, everything's happening and we got to figure out something. And then you start relying on your own strength to try to make something happen. And then that's honestly where creators get a lot of anxiety issues, stress issues, mental health comes into play, because you're trying to figure out everything all at once.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where I try to tell people, like, and I've always said this about anxiety, because that used to be one of my things. Anxiety was my best friend. I was like, when in doubt, be anxious. And I had to realize, as I really like confronted it, I realized, having anxiety is like having a perverted strength. Having anxiety is kind of telling you, for me, in my definition, the way I kind of think about it is, being anxious means that you are choosing to try to figure out things on your own without having assistance.
Yeah.
And when you don't have assistance, then you are literally relying on your own mental and willpower and energy and heart space to try to figure out something that you cannot figure out on your own. So the answer that you're giving, the result that you're giving, is really half of the piece of the puzzle. And what you think is full effort, what you think is, this is what we're doing, when really that's only a piece of the puzzle. And you have not consulted God. You haven't submitted to God. Like, okay, God, I'm anxious about this. Let me just submit to this. So all that to say, as I get out of my soapbox, is that it's important that we understand the roles that we play in this whole creative department in the kingdom. And I think with you, you have a knack for standing in the gap for creatives. And I think it's not by accident, like you said, Midwife, that's been with you. But I think deeper than the Midwife, attached to that, is you just stand in the gap, and people need more of that. And so I definitely salute you. I appreciate you for doing that. And I hope that encourages anybody. It's okay to stand in the gap. You don't have to, and not to say that you won't, but it's okay to start in the gap. And if God promotes you and extends you to the forefront, then allow him to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But the moment you try to go in reverse and feel like you got to get to the forefront and then stand in the gap, that math ain't right. That equation's not right.
The Bible says it, like, you need to look and take in the plans before you build anything. And I had to scale back, and I had to look at Live to Aspire and all these dreams of, like, standing in the gap pretty much. And be like, like, come, Josie, like, do it for yourself, so that people, and it all builds on top of each other. Because if you look at it now, I'm birthing businesses, either rebranding businesses that already exist, or branding entrepreneurs, which is like my favorite thing to do, because I'm so passionate about it. Now, look, I birthed the business, and then one day I'm going to be managing creatives and businesses that are going to feed into that too.
It all works.
You create a loyalty through that. So honestly, you said something so profound. It, like, I have been saying this term, like, impregnated with purpose. Sometimes, like, you've received something that just, like, it resonates inside of you, and you're like, wow, that's the language that I needed to make sense of what's going on. And I needed to hear that, because I've been like, everything from the physical, not midwifing, but I have a call of, like, to fight for, like, life in general. So when I was in film school, like, I've never been pregnant, never had an abortion, but ever since I got saved, God has been highlighting the topic of abortion. And I'm like, who am I to talk about that? And when I was in film school, my ending film project was about abortion, was about life, because it really tore me up. But it's just crazy that, like, in the physical, I also manifest that. Like, I love kids. I love children. I love pouring into them, because I see myself. I'm like, I want a Josie in my life. Like, if I was little, I wanted somebody like me. So I have such amazing relationships with a lot of children that call me Auntie Josie. But at the same time, it's like this call for creatives. And I've always said I'm a bridge. So in every area, every place that I go, I always stand in the gap between something and something. So midwife is the best description to put it.
No, and that's beautiful. Like, you found your difference. And I think that's important for people to understand, is when two things: when you find your difference, and then when you find a need, you'll always be needed. Like, you'll always be relevant. You'll always, be around, because you found a need. And when people try to copy and paste, or feel like they can,
you can't do it.
You just can't. and that's where we get in trouble. And so and not to say that, for example, me and you kind of do the same thing, but that's not to say that just because we do the same thing doesn't mean now I'm not needed. I probably do it differently, you do it differently, and that's where we're fine with that, you know what I mean?
And like, I can't compete. The form of competition gets dismantled when you realize who you are. Yes. So for me, it's like, okay, we do spoken word. We've gone back and forth, like sending each other spoken word stuff. And I'm just like, you can never be me and I can never be you. Why? I mean, on the fundamental basics, even just the way that we look, there's places, there's rooms that you're going to be able to walk into that I'm never going to be able to walk into. There's rooms and places that I'm going to be able to walk into and you're never going to be able to walk into simply because of the way God has made you and me. So now, which is why I love cultures and understanding people's like ethnicities and everything, that traditions, everything, all that kind of stuff, is because our differences is what makes me say, hey, you know, like I've been to Jamaica or I've been to Ethiopia or I've been like, dismantle the stereotype and be like, no, that's not how African Americans are. That's not how Asians are. That's not how Brazilians are. Like I went to Brazil this year for the Send and there's like 120,000 believers and they're like, oh, it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Yes, certain areas are dangerous, but don't go in the favelas. Like don't go in the places where you could get, you know, the same way that you wouldn't walk into a hood or a neighborhood that's you're not familiar with. Like don't go there. Like get familiar, you know? So it's just about knowing who you are, and then you have there's no competition. I don't see what's
None at all. None at all. None at all. And
we can break this conversation up in part 2 at this point.
I guess so. This will be part 1. This I will definitely label it part 1 because I definitely enjoy this conversation. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
But I've been this like my old Baptist days, like my third closing. But
for real,
we are way over time. But I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you're watching on YouTube right now, thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. We appreciate you all together. If you're listening right now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we salute you as well for listening to all of this. There's some just great stuff throughout all of this, so we encourage you that you can listen to all of it and just take something with you. And that's about it. So if you are following us on the Craft Factory, feel free to follow us on everything else. Visit us at thecraftfactory.org for all our recent episodes and other stuff that we got going on. We're about to enter another month of our writers workshops that we are doing something different. Last month we related to 90s cartoons, and now we are in a book. So and it's not a book club, guys, but we're definitely diving into that as well. And in the meantime, head to our Instagram, thecraft.factory, website, thecraftfactory.org, our Facebook, The Craft Factory. Look us up, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that great stuff. My name is Cecil. Remember, as I always say, if you rest in God, you can defeat all the odds. My name is Cecil. My guys, Abraham and Osan, will be back the next episode in person. Can't wait. The foolery will continue. And in the meantime, peace out. We are signing out. Peace.
You win some, you lose some, but you live another day.